Rotarians and guests, welcome to the May 19th meeting of the Rotary Club of York. As Rotarians, our members are dedicated to two foundational principles, and those are, a little louder, thank you, service above self and Rotaries. Four-way test. All right, you have been paying attention. Leading us today in our opening song and pledge is President-elect nominee Glenn Miller, and providing our invocation is Dave Lovelace. Just a reminder to our in-person audience here at the Country Club, a friendly reminder, please silence your cell phones. Glenn.
Good morning, friends. Please don't join me. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountains' majesty above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me in prayer. On this glorious day, gracious God, we give thanks to you for the beauty of the earth, particularly this time of year as we are surrounded by new life, for the richness of the mountains, the hills, and the rivers, the songs of the birds, and the radiance of flowers. Here in South Central Pennsylvania, we give thanks for the richness of the Susquehanna River, for those who've gone before us, passing on to us a rich heritage of beauty and historical significance. Grant that we may continue to grow in appreciation and enjoyment of this heritage. As we listen to our speaker this afternoon, share with us the efforts to be good stewards of the National Heritage Area. We ask your blessing on this important work. As Rotarians who are concerned about the needs of others above ourselves, we commit to your care those who continue to suffer from violence, the pandemic, and injustice in our world. Bless our efforts to work to relieve suffering so all might enjoy the blessing of life. We give thanks to you for the food that was set before us this day and for those who prepared it for our pleasure. Strengthen us in service. Amen.
Thank you, Glenn and Dave, for that warm welcome on this sunny day. Rotarians are a people of action, and we have many announcements today that will confirm that. Congratulations to President-elect Jackie Summers. The Central Penn Business Journal has selected their 2021 Women of Influence Awards, and Jackie is a Circle of Excellence honoree. The award honors Congratulations, Jackie. The award honors high achieving women for their career accomplishments, what you already know about Jackie. The honorees are selected based on their professional experience, community involvement, leadership, and sustained commitment to mentoring. Circle of Excellence honorees are women of long-standing notable success in the community who are leading the way for other women. Bravo to you, Jackie. Applications are now being accepted for student education, non-traditional student scholarships. The deadline to submit an application is May 31st. Visit the club website for more details. Our Youth Exchange Committee will meet tomorrow at noon via Zoom. Today, we recognize Bill Holly for his decades of service above self to our club. Bill is spending the majority of his time in May, and our board has accepted his resignation. Bill, we appreciate your membership and your service to our club, and we wish you all the best. We hope that everyone can join us for next week's off-site meeting at the Revs in person. If you cannot attend in person, we want to alert you that next week's meeting will have a different format for those joining us virtually. It will be streamed on the club's YouTube channel instead of Zoom. You will find the link for the meeting in the announcer. You do not need to register if you are viewing the program remotely. And next, for an update on the tool drive for Pedal for Peace is past President Al Sykes.
Well, Diane wanted to let you know that she is serious. She does not have enough applicants for the non-traditional student scholarship, so here I am again. And just to let you know how serious we are, I borrowed a joke from Jody Keller. A woman walks into a bar and she sees a pirate sitting at the table with a paper towel on his head. And she says, "Why do you have a paper towel on your head?" "Arr," says the pirate, "I have a bounty on me head." Come on, you can groan louder than that. Come on. I have in my hand, which you in the back cannot see, an Allen wrench. Now, many of you have Allen wrenches at home in a drawer someplace that you don't even know you have. You put a crib together 30 years ago, or a piece of IKEA furniture, or a bicycle, and they gave you one of these in a little plastic bag, and you didn't know what to do with it, but God forbid you should throw it out, so it's in a drawer someplace. And I'm sure that many of you have many other tools in drawers someplace, or chests someplace, or just out of the way that you don't use because, say, I can hire somebody to do that, or you just have too many of them. We need them. Pedals for Peace, among the other things that they are doing, are training young people to be bicycle mechanics. And they need tools. Mechanics can't get started with their trade if they have no tools to work with. So we have taken it upon the Rotary Club to help provide tools. And I am asking you to go through those drawers and chests and toolboxes and things where you still have your grandfather's socket set or Allen wrenches or whatever, and bring them with you to the Revs meeting next Wednesday. Now, if you can't, this is good because Eric doesn't even know about this. If you can't be there Wednesday, bring them down to the stadium when you can. We will get Brant or someone to pick them up. But seriously, if you can't be there, give me a call or an email. Say, I've got some stuff. I need somebody to get it, or we need a meet or whatever. We will make provisions to do that. Yeah. Okay, there you go. Bring them at when you can into the ticket office. Just put them in a box or a bag. There is a list on the announcer of the kinds of tools that they need. And I think you can understand they don't need saws and, this is woodworking tools. They need mechanics tools. They need wrenches and screwdrivers and socket sets. And I want to give a shout out to Ken Data Coops Home Cooper, who is giving us an air compressor. How cool is that? All right. So next week, you want to be at the stadium anyway, bring some tools with you. Thank you.
I don't know whether this challenge is helping us or hurting us, but I do see up there on the list that a vice is needed. So different letter, but could we help Jody get rid of some of her bad jokes? You could donate those. I know. So on to thank you, Al, for orchestrating that, and thank you all of you who are able to donate to this great cause. On to our biz spotlight is shining on Summers Financial Planning and Investments. It seems the Summers are bookending our meeting today. Past Rotary Club of York president and longtime program chair Mike Summers is the founder and principal of Summers Financial Investments. Summers Financial Planning and Investments, a comprehensive financial firm that places its clients' interests first. Mike has provided financial services to clients for almost 4 decades. He was one of York's first certified financial planners, CFP, and has a master's degree in financial services. To accommodate relocations and retirements of his clients, Mike is now licensed in a dozen states, along with the District of Columbia. He is a member of the Registered Investment Advisory firm here in Pennsylvania. Services include financial retirement and estate planning, asset management and allocation, investments and insurance placements, 401k and other business retirement plans, individual IRAs and Roths, and college 529 plans. An interesting fact, there are more than 1.3 million licensed attorneys in the US, almost 700,000 CPAs, but only 89,000 certified financial planners. Well, Mike believes in life balance and gives back substantially to our community and has served on dozens of community and business boards, commissions, and committees, many times serving in leadership positions as we've witnessed here at the Rotary Club of York. Mike Summers has been a member of our club since 1987. Thank you, Mike. And now for an update. And now for an update on our meeting next week is Eric Menzer.
Thanks, Ann. And since this is the Mike and Jackie show, I'll also mention that they are members of our community ownership group at York Professional Baseball and the York Revolution. So thank you to both Jackie and Mike. Now I have a very important update, some important news from the York Revolution People's Bank Park. Yesterday, at approximately 2:30 p.m., we broke our first car windshield of the year on Art Street, and I have never been happier. I have never been happier to spend $400 to replace a windshield, because that means we have baseball players back on the field for the first time in almost 2 years. And that means that we want you all to come next Wednesday outdoors in the picnic area to join us for our traditional preseason meeting. Now, we do have a backup plan, so it is rain or shine, and the plan is not for you to get wet if it rains. We've got that covered, so please join us either way. Importantly, the sign-up deadline is this Friday, correct, Lynn? This Friday. We need you to register if you're coming to that meeting in person. We have plenty of room for everybody. There's plenty of elbow room outdoors. Please come join us. This has historically been one of the best attended offsite meetings of the year, and it's a great opportunity. If you haven't been to Rotary in person for 14 months now, it's a great opportunity to come back and see us in person. We'll be introducing the team as usual. Our manager, Mark Mason, will do that, and we'll be joined by Atlantic League President Rick White once again. And every year, about 3 to 4 months before the start of the season, I figure out the date for this meeting and email Rick and say, you'll be here in York on that date, right? And he says, absolutely. I know he enjoys coming. There's a ton of great stuff going on in minor league baseball, and particularly in the Atlantic League. So Rick will give us an update on all that. So again, please register by Friday so that we have a count, and we'll see you next week. Thanks.
Thank you, Eric. And I know everyone looks forward to that event every year. So we were rude to skip last year, as I'm sure you were the entire season. So congratulations at being back at bat. And our next announcement is from Diane Marino for a student education update and presentation of Merit Scholarship recipients. Diane.
Good afternoon, everyone. unless you want to see Al up here again, telling whether good or bad Jody Keller jokes is up to you, but I highly suggest, I'm begging now at this point, on my hands and knees, begging for non-traditional scholarship applications. And I've had several reach out to me asking me what the criteria for the non-traditional scholarship is. Basically, it's real easy. It is for any student that did not go on to college right after high school, but is currently enrolled in an accredited post-secondary institution. So please, no more Al, no more bad Jody Keller jokes. Give me a call, give Renee a call, go on our website, applications on there. Now, I am here today to award 2 more scholarships. These scholarships are going to 2 of the most amazing young women I think I have ever had the pleasure of interviewing. And in a few minutes, you will understand why. The first one I'd like to announce is the James C. and Carrie B. Bush Scholarship, which is going to no one other than our true Rotarian Doug Berman's daughter, Sarah Berman. Sarah is graduating, Friday is her last day. She's going to a small school, some of you may have heard of it, up in Boston called MIT. Which is unbelievably impressive. She is going to be majoring in, let me see if I can get this one right, mathematics and economics. Man, okay, at MIT. And she is here today, obviously, with her father, Doug, and her mother, Kristen. You must be very proud. Congratulations. Okay. Our next scholarship is going to Jacqueline Kiska. Come on up, Jacqueline. Jacqueline is, where's she graduating high school? That's not on here. West York. Oh, West York, it is on here, thank you. Oh, and it's her birthday tomorrow. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Hang tight, I'm not done. She is also amazing. She has been accepted into the Schreier's Honors College at Penn State. And she is going to be studying meteorology and atmospheric science. So good luck, congratulations to both of you, and we will see you back next year to give us an update. Thanks, everyone.
Diane, I know that you and your committee put a lot of work into these scholarships, and I admire that. And this is one of those times where we all envy you, because we know you had a chance to get close to these young women and experience firsthand all the things that they've done. So Sarah and Jacqueline, congratulations to you. As Rotarians, our international theme this year is Rotary Opens Opportunities. And this is one of the opportunities that our members enjoy, we invest in. And thank you for providing an opportunity to our club to recognize your stellar achievements, and also for allowing us to follow your progress and the great things that will come in this next exciting chapter of your lives. Best wishes to you for your continued success at MIT and Penn State, and we hope you'll come back and join us at another time. Congratulations. Now to introduce our speaker is Frank Dittenhafer. Frank.
Thank you, President Ann, and it's great to see everyone. It's my pleasure to introduce today's speaker, my friend Mark Platts, who I also have not seen in person in over a year until today. Mark Platts is the president of Susquehanna National Heritage Area and has served in that capacity since leading the initial startup of the regional nonprofit organization in 2003. He's a native of York, but now living in Lancaster, and has over 30 years of experience in urban planning, community design, landscape conservation, and heritage and outdoor tourism development.
Mark has managed public and private sector planning programs in Washington, D.C., Orlando, Florida, and Bainbridge Island, Washington. He holds a bachelor's degree in urban and rural studies from Shippensburg University and a master's degree in urban and regional planning from the University of Florida. Mark told me that his first job out of Shippensburg University in 1983 was walking every street and every alley in the city of York to conduct a comprehensive housing condition survey for the York City Planning Department. But Mark also notes that his recollection includes fond memories of Bear's Department Store, Mike's Nut Shop in downtown York, and Brewery's famous hamburgers on East Market Street. I would personally add that Mark is one of the most creative thinkers I have ever been around. Unlike some other creatives, he almost always comes up with a strategy and a plan to actually implement his ideas. Please welcome Mark Platts.
Thank you, Frank. And thank you all for having me here. You know, last time I was here, there were lots more people, so I think the word got out that this isn't such a good show. But Frank, thank you for that. You know, as half of my career as a city planner, you know, planners plan, and I learned partway through that I really like to implement. So you know, I think I've been fortunate over the years here in New York, back in New York, to have great mentors too. And Frank's one of them. You're going to see a little more about that in a second. I also brought my big clock because I'm known for running overtime. And this is the first time I've had a sport coat on in 14 months since I was at a Lancaster Chamber event. So it's really great that we're transitioning back to a little more semblance of normal life. What I'm going to do today is give you a little bit of update on things we've been doing, especially during the last year. But mainly I'm going to focus on two new initiatives or big initiatives I think are coming our way this year. And I'm just excited to share with you where we are with those right now. So that's the lag. Okay, Ben warned me about that. So, you know, last time I was here was almost 2 years to the day. It was May of 2019 when you all invited me to come and give an update on what had just happened for our region. And I really appreciate the inclusion of God's prayers and for the National Heritage Area in your invocation. That was the first time I think I've actually heard it in an invocation, so thank you. But we had just achieved National Heritage Area designation by the U.S. Congress, the President, and became Susquehanna National Heritage Area in March of 19. And I was here soon after that to share with you what we thought that would mean. And that was a combination of over a decade of work to bring that national honor to York and Lancaster counties. And there are 55 of these heritage areas. We proudly claim to be the 55th National Heritage Area in America. And it implemented a strategic plan that we had started way back in 2008 and had evolved 3 times in that time period, ultimately leading to bringing national recognition to our region as a visitor destination, a place for heritage learning and outdoor adventure. And with that designation came a major responsibility. Congress, I mean, it's actually required by law that our organization complete and submit a National Heritage Area Management Plan to the U.S. Department of the Interior by March of next year, 3 years after designation. And I'm pleased to share that process is underway. Some of you are on our board and some others in the community are assisting with that. And it's going to go more public in the months ahead as we have public meetings to really chart the blueprint for when we move forward in the next decade as a national heritage area and we receive National Park Service funding and support and cooperation. What are we going to do? What are we going to do to promote heritage and outdoor tourism in our region and further raise the visibility of the Susquehanna and York and Lancaster as national destinations? And we'll be focusing around some of the amazing nationally important stories we have in our region. Everything from the river and its impact on our region, to York's role in the Revolution, to our role in the Underground Railroad, to the religious freedom sought by the Amish when they came to our region, to our region's role as a gateway to America's frontier for over 100 years. So we have really, we obviously York and Lancaster have played a big part in American history, and that plan will chart how we're going to help tell those stories and share it in the future. But even as we do that planning, and even during COVID, over the last 14 months or whatever, we've tried to really keep doing our core mission, which is promoting heritage and outdoor tourism and sharing the rich history of our region with visitors. As I think most of you or many of you might know, we own the John and Catherine Zimmerman Center for Heritage down at Long Level. It was a wonderful gift to us back in 2007 from John and Catherine. And we have continued, we were closed for about 100 days last year, or during the various closures and things. We had staff working remotely and still do to a large degree. But the visitor centers, whenever we could be open, we've been open. And we've added artwork to our Vision of the Susquehanna collection. We've almost completed a new gallery about Susquehanna Indian history. We've continued to do socially distanced, COVID, compliant programs for kids and families in our John Smith Trail National Park Junior Ranger program. So things have continued at the Zimmerman Center, and also at our other facility in Columbia. We manage the Columbia Crossing River Trail Center, which is a gateway visitor center to all the trails and recreation along the river. We manage it for the borough of Columbia. And we've continued to do things there, and we'll continue over this next year, public programs. But the big thing with Columbia Crossing, how many of you have ridden a bike on the Northwest River Trail? That's really good. How many on Zoom have? No, not so many. Okay. That's really good because, crossing that river from York is a challenge. In Lancaster, people have been coming over to the York County Heritage Rail Trail for years. But the Northwest River Trail saw in all the parks and all the preserves, all the good work that people and partners have done over the last 20 years to make these public places along the river and elsewhere were swamped during COVID. People went outside, they sought nature, they sought recreation. The Northwest River Trail, which the previous year they have counters on that trail that are pretty good at estimating the number of visitors. It was about 100,000 people riding that trail pre-COVID. Last year, the counters were down for the first 2 months of the COVID pandemic, and they got 125,000 in the remaining part of the year. So people were really turning out, and Columbia Crossing was the main visitor center for that trail. We provide the maps and guides and all kinds of things. We also continued, or actually launched, did I do that right? I want to go to the next. That one's not advancing. Okay. We also launched a variety of online things during COVID, like a lot of folks did. I mean, we had projects and planning and other things to keep us busy, but we also wanted to keep the direct interaction with visitors and storytelling. So if you haven't seen it, go on our website at susquehannaheritage.org. There's a whole series of river routes, untold stories of the Susquehanna blogs that delve into really interesting pieces of our history in our region that we think really haven't been shared much. And we probably would have done this in some version, but COVID led us to do it this way. And so we really tried to continue to highlight those kinds of things too. And the year before, 2019, we had launched our River Discovery boat tours, our free pontoon boat tours on the Susquehanna from our Zimmerman Center facility at Long Level. We continue that in COVID, even after we had to delay the opening and everything. We had to limit numbers of people, and everybody had to wear masks. But we did launch it, and we had over 2,000 visitors between the two seasons out on the river. And this is the first time this has been offered in our part of the river. I mean, you either have to own your boat or you paddle to get out on the river, but this brought a lot of people that don't do either of those things. And we think it's really been a success. In fact, it became such a big success that we quickly realized we need a bigger boat. It's like Jaws, which is one of my favorite movies. We're going to need a bigger boat. There's a lot of regulatory details I won't go into, but in order to do that, in order to increase capacity to meet demand and sustain this for years, because we had some grants from National Park Service and the Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources to contract with Long Island Marina, one of our local business partners, to provide the boat and the operator, and we provide the tour guides, and we could do that for 2, and it looks like it's going to be most of 3 seasons, and make it free. Now, why is it free? Well, free, people like free stuff, right? And that's great. But if we charge a fee, we have to meet all kinds of U.S. Coast Guard requirements, because despite the fact that the Susquehanna River is not a navigable river, it is classified as a navigable river in the United States. It goes way back to the early days of founding of the country. And so the U.S. Coast Guard regulates all passenger vessels that are fee-based. If it's free, they don't regulate it. You meet the state requirements for safety and things. So we need to get a boat that meets U.S. Coast Guard regulations. And we thought we need to get a boat that would make a bigger splash to promote the National Heritage Area and just become an ongoing attraction. I know from my years working with Ann, having an attraction that is consistent, has capacity, can regularly be operating and be something that people can count on is really important. And it's been hard to do that in some cases along the river, but we want to get a boat that can do that. So we first started looking at bigger pontoon boats. There's some out there, they're used for all kinds of tours. They work from a capacity standpoint. They're not the most interesting things in the world. And then how many of you have been to Shanksmere Outfitters down at Long Level? Another good turnout there. Shanksmere Outfitters have been a partner of ours for years, and Liz and Steve Winan own that wonderful outfitter and local business. We told them about our bigger boat one day at a York Convention Visitor Bureau event, and they said, "Oh, we know a boat you might be interested in," and it was this boat. Now, that's what I was hoping for. I told Bill when I showed that picture, he said, "Woo!" It's this boat. This is the Chief Uncas. This is a 1912 electric boat that has spent its entire life on Otsego Lake in Cooperstown, New York, which, by the way, is the headwaters of the Susquehanna River. It's where the river begins. This boat is 55 feet long. It's 10 feet in beam and draws about 2.5 feet. It's all mahogany. And it was built by the Electric Launch Company of Bayonne, New Jersey, which produced boats starting with the World's Columbian Exposition in 1893 and continued doing electric boats into the 1920s and went out of business after World War II. It's a really interesting boat. And it has not only a unique history, but it's a green boat. It's an environmental. This boat was built in 1912 as an electric boat, and it is an electric boat today. And part of our mission as National Heritage Area is promoting the environment of the Susquehanna and protecting the important environmental aspects. So to have an electric boat is really cool. A modern electric boat's really expensive. This one was built for somebody you might recognize, Adolphus Busch, the founder of Anheuser-Busch, the beer company. Their summer home is on Lake Otsego. It's where their hops farms were. He bought the boat. He died the next year. His family continues to own the boat. And we have a contract to purchase this boat with the great-great-grandson of Adolphus Busch. And the history of it is really amazing. And again, it's spent its entire entire life in the waters of the Susquehanna. This seems like a small project in many ways, but it has been one of the most complex things. The project I'm about to talk to you about, the second project, the Mifflin project, we briefed our board on it and everybody's like, "This sounds great, let's go ahead." The boat we talked about for an hour. So, because it's an old wooden boat, but what we finally determined that we should invest the time to see if we can bring this here. It's green, it's historic, it's tied to the Susquehanna River, and it will get that woo attraction, that woo reaction when people see it and know they can take it. So we are working on this. It's not totally done. We have a contract to purchase. We are going through due diligence with the U.S. Coast Guard and all kinds of other things. We've met with this is going to take a crane and Daily Express out of Carlisle to move this thing down here, and Eisenhower cranes to unload it here. And we're working with Longwell Marina on storage, and we expanding our dock at the Zimmerman Center to handle it. So there's a lot of things happening. We hope to be able to close on this boat by the end of June, do some final Coast Guard required improvements up in Cooperstown in July, bring it here before the end of the month, and maybe, hopefully, I know our development committee chair really wants this to happen for our summer soiree, August 20th annual fundraising event and 20th anniversary weekend, have the boat launched for public tours as sort of sneak peek fundraising cruises that I invite you all to buy a very generously priced ticket for, right? So that's the goal. There's a lot of things that have to fall in place, but we'll see if we can pull it together. And I want to point out that we entered this thinking we're going to have to really be creative with our own funding and things to make this happen. But, you know, thanks to the owner working with us on the price and generous contributions from these four people actually. I want to thank them publicly. This is the first time I've done this. And Ann Barshinger, native of New York, who lives in Lancaster now, and I think is 97 now. She has been a good supporter of our youth programs over the last few years, and she really thought this was a great thing to get a bigger boat. So with a gift from Ann Barshinger, that gave us a really big head start on this. And since then, we've gotten two wonderful, generous gifts from Doug Hope, otherwise known as a county commissioner, but also a really wonderful guy who's supporting community organizations in the community, and George and Bambi Long of York. They saw this project and said, we want to be part of this too. So we're going to be able to buy the boat thanks to the generous contributions of these folks. We have grants and things for many of the other costs, but this is going to be an ongoing thing, and you'll hear more about that from us in the future once we get it here. But we're excited to bring, I think, the Chief Uncas to our part of the river soon. Now, I don't know where I am on time exactly, but I'm good. Ben's going to give me the okay. Oh my goodness, Ann, Ann, you told me I had to, thanks, Ben. No, I will try to get through this because this is really, the boat's really cool and it's going to be fun and I think everybody's going to enjoy it. It's going to be a new attraction for visitors. But a lot of our work as the National Heritage Area is focusing on bigger stuff. And one of the things that I don't even think it was just barely on the radar 2 years ago when I spoke, is the Mifflin Farm, historic Mifflin House and Farm down in Wrightsville. How many of you have heard of the Mifflin Farm? Okay, most folks. About 4 years ago, this was really in the news a lot. This was a big deal because as the industrial park next to it started to evolve its plans and change, which it always was going to be sort of around the farm, a proposal was made to demolish the farmhouse and the barn to accommodate a different development plan. A lot of grassroots folks saw early on that, hey, this is something we need to be careful about. This takes a greater community debate, and it resulted in a pretty intense community debate about 3-4 years ago to say this is really important. There's a unique Underground Railroad history, Civil War history, and unique landscape here. And it ultimately led, and I won't go into all the details, but it led to our organization, Preservation Pennsylvania, the Conservation Fund, Kinsley Properties, Pelham Township, and others starting to talk. Is there an alternative to this? And that led to a moratorium on demolishing the properties that the property owners and the township agreed to 2 years ago, March, and said, hey, well, we're going to give this a couple years and see if the partners can come up with a solution. And I think we're almost there. So this landscape, if you see there, that's Route 30 back there behind the warehouse. And just as you get to this farm, you kind of go into a cut and you never see it. So you probably have driven, I know most of you have driven by this many, many times and maybe not seen what's right next to you because that's the 30 bridge out there in the distance. And this landscape is only about 87 acres or so, but it's a very unique and special 87 acres right outside of Wrightsville. If you've been to the Rudders in Wrightsville, it's across the street. So that's you'll see the house and farm sitting back there. And the house itself is the real jewel. That's really what started the main community concern about it because it dates to 1800. It was built by Jonathan and Susanna Wright Mifflin. Involved the Wright family of Columbia, the Mifflin family of Philadelphia. They were abolitionists, they were Quakers. They supported the Underground Railroad for over 40 years. And many, many African Americans escaping slavery coming through York County. As you all know, we had a really rich history in channeling folks to freedom. Came through this property, stayed in this house. And, especially over the last year, as African American history and culture issues have risen to, I think the forefront of our consciousness in this country, this site needs to be saved. And I think everybody saw it and said, we got to try to make this work. In addition, it has this wonderful barn complex. The barn dates to 1850, so it's post Underground Railroad, but pre-Civil War. The addition out in the front, probably 1940. It's a dairy barn addition. But when we got inside the spaces, Frank, what was it like when we got into spaces? Pretty cool, right? Yeah, we were able, thanks to the Blessing family and Kinsley Properties, arranged for us to take 30 folks from organizations and the community, elected officials through that property almost 2 years ago. And I think it opened everybody's eyes to the possibilities. In addition, this farm, this landscape outside in front of the house is where the Civil War skirmish took place before the bridge was burned on June 28, 1863. This is where Confederates engaged Union militia in a battle that the Union militia quickly realized they weren't going to win, retreated across the bridge, burned it, and stopped the advance of the Confederates, and ultimately led to the future prosperity of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Because if we hadn't burned the bridge here, Gettysburg would just be a little town along the Lincoln Highway. And that battle would have happened somewhere else. But that landscape is really important. It's a Civil War battlefield right there. In addition, there's the actual landscape itself. Because what we realized as we started looking at the property is it reaches almost to the river. And thanks to a generous contribution from a gentleman named Paul Dellinger over 12 years ago, a former Helen Township supervisor and developer, he donated to us about 4 acres of land at the end of the Route 30 bridge, which we've been holding for 10 years to decide what's going to happen. We can connect this property to that land and have a project that actually connects these historic sites to the river. So the concept plan we've been working on for almost 2 years now, and we're advancing, is to create a heritage park and natural lands preserve that preserves all the available land, almost all the available land at the Mifflin property, reaching almost to the river, working with some other public agencies to connect it to the land we own. But first and foremost, preserve the underground, the Mifflin house, and very carefully over probably the next 10 years, research it, learn about it, figure out how best to transform it into an Underground Railroad Heritage Center that can share that story of African Americans getting to the river, being rowed across the river to Columbia, and then on to Philadelphia or Canada for freedom. We also think, of course, the landscape itself, the Civil War site, can be a wonderful interpretive park with trails and information about the battle that took place there. But we really got excited, and Frank particularly, Frank's my board vice chair, and he particularly got excited about the barn. And it was really Frank who came and said, you know, we were initially trying to preserve this and bring in partners and see, would somebody want to sort of care for this as a preserve and maybe have a conservation center or something. Frank said, this is bigger than that. This can be the Gateway Visitor Center for the whole National Heritage Area. It can be our headquarters. You know, we're down the Zimmerman Center now. We'd like to do more interpretation exhibits down there. This is big enough that we could accommodate a real vision here for a Susquehanna Discovery Center right off of Route 30. You know, same reason business is located near interchange. This would be near interchange, but it would provide the gateway introduction to all the nationally important stories of our region, and then send them out to York and Lancaster and the river to learn more. And so Frank's firm, Frank and his talented folks donated the services to come up with some ideas. And this is the beginning of that introduction of the barn as a Susquehanna Discovery Center. And I'll just run through some quick images. The idea would be you have this historic structure, but you need to bring some modern capacity to it and space and services. And by inserting, I think you caught surgically inserting the right additions and things to the property, you could make a real attraction that has both the historic character and historic attraction and provides a really unique place for visitors. The lower level of the barn complex calls out for sort of like your coming into a National Park Visitor Center, your gift shop, your cafe, some initial exhibits on the Underground Railroad while the house is being fully renovated, and an introduction to the whole heritage region. There's really neat spaces in the bottom of a barn for that. But as you go upstairs into the main part of the barn, that's where we really share the core stories of our national heritage area, where it's not a museum per se, because we're not going to have a lot of collections. You know, York County History Center does a fantastic job with that, and Lancaster History over on the other side of the river does it too. This would be the stories, sharing the stories, presenting in an engaging way. People can learn about it, get excited about it, and then get out and explore and spend their money throughout the whole region. So the barn itself really has great spaces. And that 1940s dairy barn upstairs has a really cool space that we see as a place for for programs, events, educational programs, and possibly the Susquehanna River Art Collection that we have at the Zimmerman Center now that could be expanded and have more space in that facility. And then finally, the coolest part of the whole project is, I think you guys called it the silo lookouts, is transforming one of the two main silos there into a circulation space with stairway and elevator, but also at each level of the center, create these viewing points where you can look out at the Mifflin House, you can look out the Civil War field, you can look out at the river, and you can see what you're about to go learn more about when you come out. So the silo lookouts are really a neat feature. And then on the lower level of the dairy barn, in the stalls, I like to joke with our staff that we're each gonna have our own stall, is where we could put office for the National Heritage Area, but also invite conservation partners that are working along the river to share space and have a kind of collegial environment to work together down along the river. So it really has a lot of possibilities. And I know what you're all thinking, what's this gonna cost, right? This is not cheap. This is a very simple summary of a much more complex plan. We currently estimate the acquisition, initial improvements, transaction cost of saving the property and securing it and getting it as about $5.5 million. We have most of it, believe it or not. And then once that's saved, obviously this is a major capital campaign project for our community and actually York and Lancaster. And we see this as a 5 to 8 year project to raise the money, get the grants, do the planning, do everything to realize the full vision. And ultimately it's going to be probably, just touching $15 million to get this project done. But on the side of funding, I want to point out that these kinds of projects, what we've learned over 20 years, and I'm sure others already do, is you don't do a project like this by yourself with one funding source, one partner. And we've really had to bring together a real interesting coalition of folks. And I want to call out first and foremost how our local community foundations stepped up and said, we want to be part of this. So we have substantial commitments or contributions already in hand from the Powder Mill Foundation, the Wareheim Foundation, the Gladfelder Foundation. They stepped up like they do, they have for years. They will continue. Louis Appel was a charter member of our board of directors, and it's so cool to see his legacy continuing to support this kind of work in our community. We've also had great support from the York County Commissioners, the York County Planning Commission, from the new York County Open Space and Land Preservation Program. They've approved a grant for this project. York County Economic Alliance, Kevin Schreiber and his team have been a fantastic partner, and not only helping us understand finance and pulling things together, but supporting us and facilitating a major redevelopment capital assistance program commitment from Governor Wolf, already $1.5 million, and we anticipate that might be more. So that has been a key part of this. Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources is on the hook to give us a major contribution, working with the Conservation Fund, our partner, to make this happen. And we're working with the county commissioners and county agencies and the Economic Alliance on some real creative ways to sort of fill the final gap for this concept plan. Because we want to create this attraction, we want to preserve this land, but we also have in there a piece of it that could be developed in the future, a small hospitality site that could complement the visitor attraction and bring economic development to Wrightsville, which it really is looking to build. So we think there can be a nice public-private partnership to make this project happen in the end. So we think this is going to happen, and we haven't, there's no public announcement yet, but it's not totally a done deal. But I can say, and on behalf of all the partners, the landowners, and the developer, that we have an agreement in principle to preserve the site and advance these plans. There are many, and I'm going to read this because I want to make sure I say it right, because we're at an interesting time in this process. But there are many details pending before municipalities in the state too that have to be worked through. So, untangling what was proposed and switching it to a new plan takes some time, takes some cooperation. But I think we had our board meeting yesterday. Eric Menzer's on our board, and Eric said, it's a really big deal. I think you called it something about a big deal. It's resolving a community, a relatively thorny community issue, and bringing everybody together to come up with a solution. and we're really confident it's going to happen. I have to thank the grassroots activists back 4 years ago, who kind of raised the alarm and said, this is important. The Kreitz Creek Historical Society, the African American Historical Society of South Central Pennsylvania, Preservation Pennsylvania, the statewide preservation group, led by a very capable York Countyan, Mindy Crawford, if you don't know her. She's been leading that group for almost as long as I've been at the Heritage area, I think. And the Conservation Fund, a statewide group that's helped us save camp security, Gettysburg battlefield lands along the river. Our board of directors who embraced this. This is a big deal for us. This is the biggest project we have ever taken on in our history, and it will be the biggest project for the next decade. And our board has been really there, and Frank and his vision is what really kind of, I think, raised the bar for us and said, let's see if we can make this even better. And I want to thank the Blessing family who owns the property. They actually still own it and farm it. And Kinsley Properties, Tim Kinsley, and those folks who actually own the land and control it, for working with us. Actually say, we're going to work with you. We're going to take the time, see if we can figure this out. We're talking, they're going to help make the deal work. And I thank them too. And I'm happy to, there's a lot more work to go, and I'm going to wrap up now. A lot more work to make all this happen. You'll see me back in a year or two talking about the capital campaign, right, Eric? Actually, you're the development committee chair. You're going to talk about the capital campaign. And I know that I know what you're thinking. Oh, I'd like to sponsor that gallery or that Underground Railroad Center or that trail. I know our director of community giving, Bill Wright, is right here. So, you don't have to commit today, but if you have an idea, talk to Bill. And we'll be happy to build support for this in the days ahead. So, we're looking forward, as we say here on this slide, making discoveries happen here, and at this place and in our National Heritage Area for the benefit of York and Lancaster counties, because that river is not a divider, it's a uniter that brings us together. So thank you, and I'll be happy to answer questions. I left 10 minutes, right? Any questions? And I don't know what you're handling the Zoom, huh? So.
Great job, Mark.
Okay. Well, thank you all for giving me the time to talk today. Thanks.
You're good at what you like, and you're like what you're good at. And obviously, Mark, you've done a wonderful job over 2 decades at the Heritage area, and you're also a great presenter. So thank you so much. And you brought 2 big things to our community, the big boat and the big deal, right? So that Chief Uncas, yeah, it did get.
Worry about the name too.
All right, that will be when you come back. So that's wonderful. I think we could have a Rotary networking event. Where's Rob, right? Yes. Yeah, that is fantastic. I bet you do. Well, the Mifflin House idea as a gateway, thanks for having the vision for that. The Susquehanna Discovery Center, I mean, that is very exciting. And have we ever had a capital campaign that has crossed the river? Do you know? Doubt it. Yeah. Yeah, that could be pretty exciting too. So congratulations, Mark. So from walking the streets of the city for the Planning Commission to, and I know you focused on the river. Has that been a big part of the success that you've been able to gain, your focus from the counties to the river?
Yeah, I think when we, back in 2008. Mark, do you just want to go up there?
Yeah, why don't you?
Just so the Zoom audience. Yeah, when we were designated as a state heritage area 20 years ago this year, it's all of York and all Lancaster counties, and we were working on a lot of different kinds of projects that kind of spread us very thin across both counties. In 2007, 2008, we had been focused and involved with a lot of land preservation efforts on the river, and when we moved to the river at the Zimmerman Center, our board, we went through a process, said, you know what? We can support all these great things in both communities, but the one place where there is not a leadership organization and there's not a 2-county effort to take care of a common resource is along the river. And so that's when we changed our name, we changed strategic plan, and really started advancing that. And so yes, the river, I think, has given us the focal point to thrive and grow. And also with our National Heritage, we will still be reaching out beyond the river to York and Lancaster, working with York County History Center in Lancaster history to tell some of the stories that they do very well too. So, but yes, the river's big deal.
Thanks, Mark. Thank you, Mark. And speaking of thanks, I'd like to thank President-elect Jackie. She is stepping up to the plate. She is pinch hitting for me next week while I will be out of town. And this is a reminder that our club meeting next week will be a road trip. We'll be downtown, headed to People's Bank Park to learn about the upcoming season for the York Revolution and some exciting changes that are coming to the Atlantic League. Reminder to register by Friday if you're planning to attend. And also if you're participating virtually next week, the meeting will be broadcast on our YouTube channel instead of Zoom. Check the announcer link for directions on how to join. Yes, oh, thanks, Ben. Mark, in honor of your visit with us today, we have a book donation to the YWCA in Hanover. And the author of this is Cindy Donnelly, a familiar name, Tom's wife. So there's a book plate we'll ask you to sign. Thanks for having my 6, Ben. And I have 2 stars on my notes for today. One is, as you know, we are very fortunate that our club is able to attract wonderful speakers. You know, if we look back at the past 3 speakers, Pedal for Peace, Elsner Engineering, and the Susquehanna National Heritage Area. These have been, in addition to geographically, they've been content diverse and really amazing programs. So thank you to past President Mike for your leadership of the program committee, and thanks to the program committee, but all of you Rotarians who give those ideas and suggestions and put them forth. And it has been a Herculean effort that Mike has undertaken this year with all the changes thrown our way to deliver these programs. So the program committee is meeting on June 2nd. Please give your suggestions to Mike and Lynn so that they can be considered, because really what happens is the programs, it's so competitive, they'll be booked for the next 6 months. So now is your chance, right, Mike? Okay. And I'd like to give a shout out to Patty. Cannot believe that you're here with us this week, but Patty, we're all glad to see you and glad to see that your health is good enough for you to join us. I think you had a serious situation, but there are a lot of well wishes and prayers were out there for you. So we're really glad to see you, Patty. Take care. Okay. Our closing song is by Slow Hand, Eric Clapton, Lay Down Sally. Hope you all enjoy it. Congratulations to our scholarship recipients. Have a wonderful week, everyone. I won't see you next Wednesday, but I'll see you in 2 weeks. Take care.